Hello, this is live. This is live. That's good. All right. Everyone here. Going to turn on the game audio a bit. I'm going to need to focus plus minus. You can definitely start with questions while I wait for one or two people. Like, I think we can just start with questions for the first 10 to 15 minutes, plus minus. I'm going to then talk roughly about what I think the character is and how the character works, but until we've essentially gotten warm with this format, I think I'm just going to answer questions. Right, so we weren't supposed to see this yet. Okay, so does anyone have any questions in particular about the character they want to have answered right now? Yes, you can ditch it, but it is slightly worse. So if I tell the dummy to not block for a second, you can just go for TK directly. The problem here is essentially a small amount of damage, I think, and more important, cooldowns. If you go for the combo this way, where you go for the jump U, thank you for jinxing me. I'm going to try to do it, but I'm not super consistent with it either. This combo has looping cooldowns. If I am going to put on for a second standard cooldowns, you can see that the cooldowns will loop here. And that's why I don't use this as a BNB, I can't press it yet. Essentially, you can do the entry combo again when you need to do it, if you go for the jump U variation. That is at least the point. If you don't go for the jump U variation, there is two differences. First, the slashes recover slightly slower, which makes an instant punish for the opponent just not blocking worse. And second, you go for the easy input version of the DKEX Moon, which means that in the follow-up combo you can't use it. So yes, you can ditch the jump U. It is slightly more stable, at least for me, but it is also not 100% optimal. Yeah, but it's definitely something to optimize on if you can play the character well, but I haven't gotten there either. Still need to recognize when it drops, when it doesn't drop. Not 100% sure about it either. Was too lazy to learn it up to this point, essentially. So, do we have any other questions? Yeah. I mean, if you playtime for today, your focus is not going to be using the most optimal corner combo, it's using the corner combo that's most stable for you and that still does a lot of damage. And in that case, you can definitely go for the no jump U variation first. What are the opponents options to pressure your opponents once you're in their face? I was planning to answer that in essentially the course of my lecture. What kind of options you have? The short answer is 2M. You use 2M. If 2M is blocked, you throw. If the throws are getting tagged, you start using overheads. That is the very abridged version of it. 2L always leads to this. Always leads to this. You need to microdash to confirm here. And I usually wouldn't spend too many cooldowns because the combo is heavily scaled already. 2L auto combo is exactly the same combo. This is now going to be pretty reliable to connect in basically every situation, so you should go for it. On hit at least. On block you want to confirm something else after this, because there still are inconsistencies in terms of whether it hits, whether it's blocked or not, or whether the opponent can low profile. Ideally you want to confirm these two hits were blocked. I'm going to do something else like 2M. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, sometimes you're just straight up going to even saying, okay, I'm not going to spend any cooldown. This hit is already heavily scaled. It's not worth it. I want to save my cooldowns for a really big hit. If I were to put on damage display for a second here. Short BNB does 2000 give or take. Long BNB only adds 1000 extra damage to this, while you basically spend all of your good cooldowns. So you can't actually go for another good combo here. Whereas if you go for a short combo, you still have the potential of hitting them with 5000 damage on your next hit. Yeah. On block you can also definitely... That might be a bit better scaling. I haven't optimized that, or rather I don't really optimize that hit, but I think it should be a bit better. Let's test it out. You don't have to complete it here. And it is a bit more damage. Notice that this did 200 or 300 more damage. So that would definitely be the optimal confirm. You can't go into this. That's going to drop. And if we're going to go into optimal conversion options, when and where this is going to happen, if you have a crouch confirm, of course you can also go directly into it, or even skip that, because this is also this is also a crouch confirm if I recall correctly, and I'm going to be able to use it. Let's give me a bit of time. Yeah, this is also a crouch confirm. You could theoretically go into this and it would be pretty good damage. Input error? $4,000. That's solid. Okay. And yeah, on block you can definitely go for options like this. Would be a pretty normal pressure string to use if you are suspecting the opponent mashes at any point, and start with 2LL. Advantage here is after 2Ls you are pretty close, you can run in quickly. And you can confirm these two hits if you are used to it. I'm not particularly used to it, I don't use this pressure string too often, I like using more 2Ms instead. And if I go for 2Ls, I think I don't usually confirm the hit that much. Or do I? Well, it's possible. But I also need to train myself to then confirm into 5L. I think if I go for 2L, I directly cancel into a special currently. Okay. So, given these questions, what's our time? I think I've still got 5 more minutes before I wanted to start with a short primer. With essentially how I see Narmaya, what I think about her, what she does well, badly, and how the character essentially on a basic level works. But if there's no questions, I can definitely start with that just about now. I'm trying to show basics here. I don't know if I want to show meaty close ages, because I also don't use those. What was the setup? This? Yeah, this was the setup. You get a corner throw, you roll, you press close age. This is a meaty, and if it hits meaty like this, it is plus. And if it's plus like this, you can link like in close M or whatever after it. Or pressure on block. It's pretty nice, but I don't see many reasons to use it over just pressing 2M. 2M is always going to be plus. This is plus if I have the right setup or whatever. And after a corner throw, I usually just take the safe jump instead, anyway. So I rarely, if ever, use the setup. Yeah, and the safe jump is DP safe for everyone. And has more plus frames. Safe jump? Sure, I can do that. That's a basic concept. So let's say I want to set the Narmaya dummy to do something after standing up here. Randomly use either DP or standing light, mashing out. So a safe jump for any character means DP safe pressure. If I jump in like this after a corner throw and press a button on the way down, this is DP safe. The DP is not going to hit me like this. Because I have already landed by the point where the DP has started up and I can punish the DP. If she goes for a button instead, I counter hit her. And of course, doing this against Narmaya leads to fair damage. You don't want to let this happen. Half your health gone, because you did the wrong thing. Save meat is the same thing, you can do this, but it's pretty hard. I don't have this on lock. It should look approximately like this. You time into L at just the right timing. This isn't easy. After you get a knockdown. The result is the same. You should be blocking the Dragon Punch and defeating anything the opponent presses on wakeup. I think I'm doing a bit late currently. This looked right. A bit early. So it isn't easy. I think it has a 3-frame timing, so you have to hit 1/20th fraction of a second timing to properly safe jab someone. Of course, easier off on hard knockdown where you have a 1 timing. It's harder off soft knockdowns, and Narmaya gets a lot of those. I think this looks about right, but I don't know. Once again, I'm not confident in my safe jabs. I still need to practice those. Okay. And on the topic of... Yeah, on the topic of that, two block strings also are something that beat DPs. I think that is... Yeah, I think that's what you want to tell me. So I'm setting the dummy to now only block the first hit. And disable the counter attacks. After attacking, but I give the dummy the order to Dragon Punch after blocking. Anything basically. You can press any button as you come down. The important thing is the timing of the jump. I can also show in the length of the stream other safe jump setups of Narmaya's attacks, of Narmaya's regular combos. We'll see in the corner. So this is a 2-block string. If you come down, you still have enough block stun to do something. I don't know if as Narmaya you have the option to go for 2 2Ls. There, I have not lapped that. In my mind, you only get 1 to hit, but you can also make 2L to L a true block string. The powerful thing about true block string into a low is that if the opponent tried to DP out of the situation, expecting your block stun to end, you're going to hit them while they stand up for the Dragon Punch input. This is another good way to have Dragon Punch save pressure. Just for demonstration's sake, jump in heavy. Any jumping button works for the safe jump. You basically have a free choice, depending on what you want to do. Might as well just start with jumping heavy though. And most of them should have enough block stun to go into another crouching light, so that you can also be safe against break punches directly after the jump in like this. Okay. I'll try to now shortly talk about what Narmaya does as a character. So, Narmaya as a character is definitely a character with strong pressure game. She has this plus on block more normal. Having a plus on block medium is something that very few characters in this game have. It is counter hit confirmable. You can go into all sorts of things on counter hit. You can link it into itself, confirm it or something. You can link into other buttons. You can even go into heavy attacks. And on block it is plus. So the opponent doesn't exactly want to mash out because they might get hit by the counter hit by another 2M. And that goes into more. Narmaya has that. Narmaya has other great pressure options like TKEX Moon, which is also plus, which also moves her forward, leaves her directly next to them. She has great damage coming from this pressure. Any hit in the corner means massive Narmaya damage. With this basic combo. Yeah. Furthermore, she's got all the other things that you want for pressure. She's got a throw that moves them, that grants a good amount of space. She's got a fast run speed, which means she has an easy time resetting pressure, running back in after a block string. So after she makes enemies scared with a great block stun, with the great normals, she can just run back in, go back in, throw, or run back in, catch them trying to defend against the throw with an overhead or another button. So that's the strength of Narmaya and pressure with the Kagura stance. Narmaya's other power lies in neutral. She's got in GENJI stance, she's got really long normals that she can place well, that she can cancel into command dash, into further combos, into a knockdown of any hit, which starts the offense. I would definitely, based on this, classify Narmaya as a momentum character. She wants to somehow get a hit in neutral game, whenever, from footsies for example, from rushing in, from jumping in, and then she wants to ride this hit all the way to victory. She can really make every single hit she gets count. She can whiff punish from a lot of ranges based on the speed and velocity and range of her buttons. She can, and of any whiff punish or any hit, she gets this knockdown. Oops. And this knockdown allows you to run up, start another round of pressure, throw, go for Meaties, and so on until you're in the corner. And once you're in the corner, she's got massive damage. She still has massive damage of every hit. Getting clipped by a peak range far heavy or something from over here means you lose half your health. That's the terror of Narmaya. She both has good pokes and a really good pressure game once she's in, plus a few other gimmicks and tricks and options to also otherwise get that hit. Like say command dash, L slash, which is safe to some extent. She can kinda just flip in. And she has EX Mistfinder, a very good tool at long range. Mistfinder generally is a risky tool, but EX Mistfinder is pretty amazing. You get pressure from over there again, and it is safe on block. So, to summarize it, Narmaya's strengths and my game plan as this character are as follows. The game plan is play neutral in GENJI, get a hit, pressure in Kagura, reach the corner, get a corner combo, and win. More or less. This is more or less an example. of how this works. This is how it usually would work, how I would typically think around as Narmaya works. You play neutral in this stance, in a Genji stance, the one with the far-reaching buttons. As soon as you land a hit, you transform into Kagura stance and try to pressure, run them all the way to the corner, and once in the corner, try to finish it, get the hit, get a lot of damage, and you should have more or less won the round of that. That's not the only way to push enemies to the corner though, which is an important part of this game plan. You can, for example, also just walk enemies to the corner if they try to not take any risks and play defensively in neutral, always moving back, walking back. You can also, instead of trying to play neutral, go for something more cheeky. It all depends on how your opponent responds to it, and Narmaya is a character that, on the flip side, on the risk side of things, has to sometimes take these risks. One of her biggest weaknesses is that Narmaya, compared to other characters, has a slow walk speed. This more or less hurts her ability to play neutral, as well as a character like Catalina would, because she cannot effectively chase characters just by walking forward. She's too slow, characters can walk back as fast as she can walk forward. So walking forward as her is difficult. You have to do it sometimes, but it is difficult. On the other hand, her run is good. That's a good one, but I want to more or less tell you about the quote-unquote proper way of playing Narmaya. But I can also show you the gimmicks after this that are going to give you... that are definitely going to get you a round or two or a few games or set. The proper way is playing footsies. Narmaya is going to be playing walking footsies like a lot of other characters, but she can't only rely on her walk. She has to take riskier options, especially against better characters, especially against zoners. She has to use runs, because her run is so good, so fast, and her far heavy run so far, it is always a threat. It is always a threat to get hit by this against Narmaya. You can't really react to Narmaya just staying about at this range, going for a short run, far heavy. That is, I think, one of her strongest neutral tools, but essentially... As for weaknesses, I would say she is a slow walker, and because of that, because of her high execution barrier, because in general she becomes less of a stable of a character. She has to take risks. She doesn't perhaps win neutral as often as characters like Catalina, and she gets more from winning neutral, so you really have to ride that one hit into victory sometimes. I already dropped the undroppable, I think. You're too late. Far heavy is bad if you whiff it. Let's put it in perspective. We're going to go straight into, so what do we do when we play neutral in Genji? So playing neutral in Genji is about footsies. My footsies aren't very good. But the point about footsies is you are here and you're getting forced to play slow by your opponent sometimes, because say your opponent is pressing a lot of 2M. This is something that Narmaya can definitely do to discourage enemies going in. Let me quickly get the right recording. So let's say someone is warning me. I can't run in. If I run in, I get hit. And if I get hit, then Narmaya can go straight into a command dash, get the knockdown, and start a game of this. This is definitely what Narmaya does against people that try to run in on you. You place a wall of buttons, you buffer into command dash, you cancel into M slashes on reaction if you see a hit has happened. But so let's say you're getting walled like this. Definitely means that you can't cheat your way in mostly. If you try to run in, well, you're going to get clipped. You need to play footsies. Footsies in this case is, okay, they're pressing a lot of buttons. I need to purposefully put myself in a position, walk into a position where I can beat this, press a button in the right timing where I can beat it and not get beaten out. So let's try it. Approximately like this, that was a punish. Or not like this. press far heavy. Walk into range, press a far heavy, try to win. Won't always work. If it works, you get the hit and get a punish. Yeah, 2-1-4L startup is very fast. And it is really big. Sometimes the opponent doesn't react in time. That is how it works as an anti-air. Not the best of anti-airs though, it is not an air stall. It's a speed and the hitbox. So, the theory is, if the opponent is moving in a lot, you want to stonewall them with buttons. You want to press buttons, you want to confirm, and if you press buttons, you want to cancel them into a special in this game. And if you cancel them into a special in this game, you can buffer. You can, at this range, always cancel into special, because the only way this move is going to hit, this far M is going to hit, is if the opponent runs into it or places a button into it or whatever. You are pressing this button preemptively here to stop the opponent from moving into your space. If the opponent moves into my space, let's say to do this, I want to stop them. This stops them from moving into my space. They are running in, they can't block. And I get a knockdown if I am fast enough. You can always cancel into command dash here, but the thing with Narmaya, unlike other characters, is you have to then react that the command dash hits and cancel into 236M to confirm. You might be able to see that I'm always using the skill button to confirm this. That's because there's really no downside to using the skill button in this situation when you are confirming the command dash hit. And that's because I'm going to have command dash back when I'm going to have this button back, this special back when I need it. But that is how you stop aggression in this game and get your aggression stopped if you just kind of want to run in their faces, which is a legit tactic if the opponent just does nothing. If you want to stop people from running or moving in your faces, you press buttons. Okay, so what if the opponent presses buttons? You either try to whiff punish them, or you try to counterpoke them or beat them with a bigger button, depending on the button. Something like 2M is pretty fast. It is difficult to whiff punish on reaction. In that case, I as Narmaya would want to place in far heavy in the right spacing. When I stand over here, she's not going to hit me anyway with 2M. I can place it far heavy, try to confirm whether it hits or not, and beat her out. Or if she goes for a slower button, like her own far heavy, I'm going to try to show that next. Then I can whiff punish it. You can see that the button lingers for a while, it's out here for a while. If I see Narmaya, if I wait for it, want to react to the button, then I can definitely put myself just out of range of it. And on the right timing, press my own far medium, cancel it into command dash, confirm the hit, and at that point I know it's going to hit. I get the hit, I get pressure, I continue going in. That would be how you deal with the opponent pressing a lot of buttons. You either counterpoke with your own heavy, or you try to whiff punish them with your own medium. Depending on how fast the button is and how big it is, you would usually want to whiff punish heavy buttons and try to counterpoke medium buttons, or sometimes, depending on how slow the medium button is, you can also whiff punish it, but it's harder. Then you're just kind of going to try to place your heavies in the right spot. And here's the thing. If the opponent tries to himself counterpoke your button with a far heavy, then it is pretty much like they're trying to move in with a far heavy. You can whiff punish it in return. If the opponent tries to whiff punish, though, you're going to notice that the opponent is going to try to move out of your range. They're waiting for you to press a button, like an idiot, and whiff. This is when it is really good to just run in. Especially as Narmaya. You want to just run in this situation. You want to run in, okay, I've got pressure, I have created space. This is especially important here. Your opponent is, by trying to whiff punish, by moving backwards, he is feeding your game plan of getting to the corner. You get closer to the corner just because your opponent tries to whiff punish, just because they're walking back. And every step closer to the corner is valuable to Narmaya, because if you're close enough to the corner, you get a corner combo. And if you get a corner combo, Narmaya does way too much damage. Aside from that, you can also use gimmicks in neutral game to spice it up or do other things. As Narmaya, it is always a good idea, for example, to just throw EX Setsuna out there sometimes. It is a pretty safe option, plus on block, long range. People are usually not going to react to it at long range, because it only if you're good you can do this. You're only going to need to worry about it getting reacted to against strong players or players that are really looking for it. And if you just catch your opponent randomly walking forward, well, you got a knockdown, you're in. Another point is you can jump in. This especially gets more important against characters that play less footsies and are less ready to anti-air you. You can jump in, especially at a spacing like this, where you have buttons like jump U, with its great range, and jump heavy. You're going to try to jump in, you're going to look while jumping. Did my opponent press a button that I can punish on the way down with my own jumping heavy or jumping U, and then go for it. Sometimes you also are just going to jump in anyway, doing nothing, trying to bait an anti-air. Let me explain why that makes sense. So, if I always jump in with a button, if you get anti-aired, you eat a combo. Approximately something like this is what Narmaya can do on anti-air. You go for into heavy, then dash into command dash. This is kind of difficult because of the micro dash, and simple variant is at range is going to be this one. Or I think this should also work. Command dash into a special. But I haven't practiced this combo, I can't tell you when it works, why and when. I would usually just myself use micro dash combos. So anyway, if you always jump in like that, your jump in is going to get countered by that 2H and you eat a combo. If you don't come down with a jump in, that's not going to happen. So it's just a normal hit, which leads to no combo unless I'm aware that this is going to happen. I can still get a knockdown, but it is definitely less damage than you would normally get. And similarly, if I try to anti-air too far off a range and you didn't actually press jump H or jump U jumping in, my anti-air is going to miss. And then on the ground you can punish it. That is a space jump and a grappler jump, and Narmaya has good space normals for this. Like, if you were pressing a normal at the same range, I could be counter-hitting it, I could still get the combo. But if you don't press a normal coming down, it misses, you don't get comboed. I think this is about it, plus minus, for playing neutral in Genji. Basically, you're either going to be going for gimmicks, or you're going to be trying to footsie. I can recommend learning footsies, it's definitely going to work better against better players. But in the beginning it might be more stable to just kinda find some way to cheat your way in if you can't quite get there first, or if you're playing against someone that is always going to do the same thing anyway. Definitely also recommended to get anti-airs going. Anti-airing with EXTP is easy, you would want to use the skill button. You can anti-air even when you whiff a button on the ground already, you can still react and anti-air. I think this is the worst demonstration in the history of demonstrations. But if you miss a button, you can still look in the air and get the anti-air in time. By pressing skill button anti-air. Skill button EXTP anti-air is definitely good, gives you a hard knockdown, you start pressure. So what do you do when starting pressure? The first point is, when you start pressure you want to be in Kagura stance, the stance where the sword is out. This is because it is the stance with the better frame data, better buttons. And you definitely always want to be in Kagura. When you get a command dash, when you pressure at first. Let's qualify this using two things. Footsies is my way of life too, but Narmaya sometimes has to slightly skip those. She is going to take risks in footsies. She's going to run in because she simply sometimes can't walk her way out of footsies. But anyway, that's definitely one of the most fun aspects of the game, just playing footsies. So, once you have a knockdown, if you started with a command dash, you're already in Kagura. You don't need to worry about that. If you didn't, for example by going for a throw, you have to remember to switch your stance first. During the recovery animation of the throw, you can press U, and you are going to go into Kagura stance to get there in time and start pressure in Kagura. I'm going to expect you are always in Kagura when you try to start pressure. If not, you can still switch on the first to L if you want to. But that's definitely more limited. You want to, if possible, always start pressure in Kagura. So, and for command dash, once again, you're already in Kagura, nothing to do. If you go for a throw, if you start pressure with a throw, then you need to switch to Kagura. Manually, if you anti-air, you also need to switch to Kagura. Those are two Kagura switches that you definitely want to grind and remember to do. Every time you get some sort of knockdown, it should be an automatic reaction for you to switch to Kagura stance and go in. So once you're in Kagura stance and going in, let's put on random block, force counter. Usually if people are going to get hit, they're going to get hit crouching or getting counter hit, I think. So once you're in Kagura, you have run up. You have the question, what kind of pressure am I going to go for? Well, the answer to this question is, what is your opponent doing on defense? Pressure is once again not a one-way street. If possible, you might want to get hits instead of throws. Landing a Meteor or something like that is your best damage and a good layer 0. So first, check whether your opponent mashes or not. A simple way to go for that is simply going for 2M pressure, like this. Like Narmaya can pretty simply just go for 2M pressure, and in that 2M pressure, watch out for, did I get a counter hit? Nice, I'm going to cancel. That is your basic option, layer 0, and your layer 0 is there to fight against mash. If you know your opponent likes to press a lot of buttons on wake up or likes to throw tech very fast or do anything like that, press buttons, you can first start with using 2M on pressure. So what if the opponent always blocks 2M? That's when you need to advance your pressure. As long as they always get hit by this, or as long as you eat counter hits, fine. You don't need to change anything. But if your opponent always starts to block, you want to start considering throws. An opponent that always blocks, basically, until further notice, he's not going to do anything on defense. So you can notice, oh, I did 2M twice, he's blocking, I'm going to run in, micro dash with a throw. These run-ins in pressure are super important to Narmaya. She's so good at running in pressure over short distances and resetting the situation and forcing the opponent to do something. So okay, you are running in, you force a throw situation. What now? The next thing that could happen is that your opponent starts reading this, reacting to this, and taking the throw. So let's see how this works. I go for this pressure. I see Narmaya running at me, I think, oh, she's going to throw me. I better attack. The level 0 answer to this is to just use an overhead in the same timing. If I try to stand tech an overhead, well, I get hit for major damage. Narmaya can get anything after that, gets a lot of damage even mid-screen, especially in the corner. Getting hit by an overhead is bad news. Yeah, but that's a point here. what your opponent does on response to a run pressure reset is something you really want to keep track of as Narmaya and see what happens, how do I deal with it, what kind of options do I have against it. For example, if I see, okay, well, Narmaya is usually going to, when running in, Narmaya is going to throw overhead. I can try to mash out, I can try to DP out at the situation, or go for on throwers. So, if you see this as Narmaya, a good option simply is just to start going for 2Ms again. 1 second. If you rec to dash, you might get hit and eat all the damage. Still, if you DP, they might hit you. But that is definitely, pressing buttons is strong against reaction mash. Let's just say you're then frame trapping the mash. And it is kind of a wheel of options like this. If this could happen a lot, Narmaya is looking out for... What's she looking out for? Well, essentially what I'd look out for as Narmaya is I want to only throw you if you let yourself get thrown. If I see you're not really doing anything against throws, well, then I'm going to do throws. If I see that you're actually defending, I would rather want to frame trap you, because Narmaya's reward of frame trap, especially close to the corner, is higher. Exactly, it is observing what the opponent does, knowing what happens, kinda minimizing risk to some extent. One really good thing to minimize risk is late button. I'm going to try to show that now. So late button is an excellent technique that covers a lot of options at once that the opponent could go for. Let's say I have an EXCP on wakeup that Narmaya could be going for. Let's further say we're going for a slow attack. I'm not quite sure what you would be using as Narmaya here. I'm going to just tell her to do overheads. And say this could randomly happen on wakeup, for example. The slow attack is a stand-in for a throw tech. Usually when opponents take a throw on wakeup, this is also an option you can definitely go for. You can directly throw them on wakeup, you can add that to their mental stack. But if opponents take that throw, they're going to do it a bit late. They're not going to do it instantly, so that they can still block your meaty and take your throw at the same time. It's a late tech OS. One thing that you can do is delay button. Delay button refers to pressing a button on the opponent's wakeup late enough that you block a reversal DP, and early enough that you beat whatever else they press on reaction, for example a late tech or going for their own late button. This is a really good timing because it hits late tech OSs which cover your normal I'm just going to either throw a button. And it's another way of going for DP safe pressure as Narmaya. You just delay your button a bit, and then you have fun. The other stuff you can do is just kind of going hog wild and saying, well, I'm going to overwhelm you because you as a defender might be looking for a special timing to apply your defensive options on. For example, if I as Narmaya always go for 2 Ms and then assess the situation, sometimes run back in, sometimes not, they're going to look for it. They're going to look for this point. So you might all stop after 1 2M and go in anyway. Or sometimes you might simply do nothing. You know? Well, just stay here. Switch to Genji, wait at a range, see whether the opponent whiffs something that you can punish, whiff punish them if they do. Your pressure options are well, a lot, but at the basic level it is you go for a frame trap, then you go for throw, then if throw gets countered, you try to sniff out what the opponent does to counter your throws and react accordingly. I can definitely answer questions depending on what the opponent does in terms of anti-throws, what they do against your throw in certain situations and how you should be acting, what kind of offensive options you can take. But know that an option that I really like in that situation is just to slightly delay my own button, because that beats latex OSes that blocks instant mash and tends to essentially stuff a lot of reactive mashes or OSes or subconscious reactions that the opponent has in the first place. Bruh. Wait, no. The perfect commentator wouldn't stutter. Also, another good pressure tool is this one. You should also learn to love this one. It is, as far as I recall, +2, puts you directly next to the opponent so you can instantly throw them, and on hit, especially in the corner, you get a combo. I think it's +2. My research says +2. I'm going to research again, maybe it is different on crouch block. So let's put Narmaya to counter attack with, let's see, standing H. Standing H is 8 frames. I'm going to go for a 7 frames button after that. If it is +1, I'm going to lose because my button gets crushed. I need to first have her, that's after hit stun, it's not after block stun. Don't trust those two, it's +2. If it was +1, I'd be losing here. If it was +1, if I would say tell Narmaya to jump after getting blocked, I did tell you to jump, right? Yeah, I'm telling you to jump. No counter, please. This is DK. I'm doing it instantly off the ground in the air. Yeah, the grounded 214H is +1. But this one is +2. Sometimes you misinput it like this. But because it's +2, for example, you can also catch their jump outs after it with the 6 frame button. And keep going. This is +1 at worst. I definitely know that. And it is plus more if it hits right. But definitely at least +1. But TK is +2. I'm not listening to anyone that tells me otherwise. My labbing directly in the game says it's +2. It would be losing to all sorts of things that it doesn't lose to if it was +1. It's +2, it's around 9 frames of startup too. It is a really good option. The only problem of the special is you can't cancel into it because it's a TK special. But really, it is incredibly good. So against fuzzy jumps, this is another important question, especially against someone like Meterat. Fuzzy jump is when is another defensive option, another defensive OS that says I'm going to try to block your initial hit on the ground as a meaty. Then I'm going to try to jump out so that I can barely jump out of your throw, and then go back to down backing so that I block any follow-up attacks you go for. In order to beat fuzzy jumps, you will need to let the opponent jump first. So you will obviously not need to go for the meaty or whatever timing they are trying to fuzzy jump in. And then you will need to press a button in the right timing to catch them out of the air. For a lot of characters, including Narmaya, this can be close H. Narmaya also has the option to catch fuzzy jumps with TK Sengets though. So I'm going to try to see whether I can choke. So if I fuzzy jump grab, it's going to look approximately like this. to make sure that we are actually developing fuzzy jump timings, I'm going to need a few things. First, I'm going to need to demonstrate what Narmaya gets out of a fuzzy jump, and I'm going to need the other stance for this. And second, I'm going to need to have 2 recordings so that I actually show that I am OSing it, that I win against both options. I'm not too confident that I can do this all the time. What I do as fuzzy jumps is intuitive, so I don't know if that's going to work out. But a fuzzy jump is supposed to win against both of those offensive options of going for 2LL and for throw. This was too early, I got caught in the jump starter. This could be okay. This was also too early. The problem about a fuzzy jump is throws have a lot of recovery and you get the corner. And as Narmaya, you can get real hits of any height. You can fuzzy jump late and still get a full combo of the throw tag. So to beat my fuzzy jump here, as Narmaya, I'd be trying to fish for the timing where they jump. It's definitely not right with my Meatie. If they block my Meatie, then it's over. Then they fuzzy jump successfully. Then they should just be blocking this. So I need to essentially not go for a Meatie and instead walk back a bit, go for a close heavy and try to snag them out of the air. Or go for TK Sengets. Essentially, a situation where they would want to fuzzy jump and a situation where they want to fuzzy jump is a situation where they expect throws. In that situation, you want to not go for the button you'd normally press instantly, but you'd want to slightly delay a button and use a button in that delay that hits very high up and still catches the fuzzy jump. That's at least the theory. I think that's the anti-fuzzy jump timing. So that would definitely block my fuzzy jump. I can get out of the corner, but I'd definitely at least be forced to block this, or even get hit, and if I get hit, full corner combo. But even so, I could go for close heavy instead. Close heavy isn't plus on block, but it is air unblockable, and if you see the opponent in the air, it is theoretically possible to confirm that too into a full combo. The other option to beat fuzzy jump is straight up to do nothing and go back. So if my anti against it is say, nope, I'm not gonna fuzzy jump, I'm going to shimmy. Then you walk back as a defender and walk back into a spacing where you can just anti-air me for free for trying to jump out. That's probably one of the more practical ways. Narmaya's shimmies aren't too good because she walks slowly, so she takes a bit of time to get out of throw range. A shimmy is another offensive option, by the way, I haven't quite talked about yet, but shimmy essentially means I move in as though I was going for a throw and then just walk back. The walk back will block DPs and it will move myself out of the range of a throw that I can then whiff punish. It is a very safe option to go for pressure. You can definitely also do it as Narmaya, but be advised that her slow walk makes it harder. Yeah. And as Never says, you can go for other options. Close heavy generally is the best anti-fuzzy jump button a character has. Or slightly delay your button so that you catch a jump out on the ground. Close heavy just generally tends to give you the widest timing window to catch a fuzzy jump. So that's definitely how to deal with some of the more advanced options. Often you can just play slow, shimmy, or go for a slightly delayed button and beat whatever the opponent does. So pressure in Kagura is fine. Once you have reached the corner, which is the last point, it's pretty simply, well, corner combo. Close light, close edge, yes, maybe. As Narmaya, you never use close light for that because close light is 0 at best. It is not plus like other characters. But you can go for this. This definitely wins if the opponent instantly jumps out after something like this, but then you can just go for frame traps as well. Like you can definitely frame trap instant jumps more easily. Yeah. Like if they instantly jump out, just frame trap. It's easier. You get a full crouch confirm too. I definitely get that this is a lot to absorb at once, but I'm going to put up this as a VOD, and I hope you can extract some more wisdom from my ramblings. I don't know who would be putting the wisdom in there, but just in case. This is about what I wanted to talk about, both about how you play neutral as a character and how on a system level you would also approach pressure as this character. Running in is good, you want to establish this a lot. You want to use the fear of the throw to get your really big hits. That's the stuff in a nutshell. Yeah. And I definitely also am planning to review this and also use this as material, as review material for actually writing the real guide. This was one of the motivations for doing this today. I wanted to see how this works, what's important, what I'm missing, forgetting, and what new players actually want to learn from me. We're definitely going to do timestamps. Probably. Maybe. So I'm going to go back to Q&A now, I think. Got some more time. We are 1 hour in for now. I'm taking a short break to soothe my throat. Please ask your questions in the meantime. And we can also look at some combos and confirms the character has after this. I don't know the Vaseraga matchup either, really. I guess if you're behind Vaseraga, you're out. But if he has armor on and he's walking at you, you have to hold the mix-up. If he doesn't have armor on it, he's walking at you, just press a button. Also, yeah, but more than 3 hits on your special is usually not going to happen before Vaseraga notices what you're trying to do and presses you. Basically, if Vaseraga has armor on and is EX walking towards you, it is kind of a checkmate situation. It is kind of the situation he wants to have, the one where he can enforce his mix-up. You have to hold it and read correctly. Sometimes you can do more though, and if you somehow end up behind him, you also have one. In terms of matchups, Footsies matchups work more or less like I have laid them out. That's more or less the matchup against mostly any other character that uses normals. You're going to be playing footsies like that. You're going to be trying to look at what buttons are they pressing in which spacing, how are they moving, and try to respond accordingly, or sometimes just preemptively run at them and press for heavy. That's always something that you can just do if you're not sure what you want to do as Narmaya. It usually works. Mostly. It's pretty good. And against some other characters, you might want to just be straight up more aggressive as Narmaya. For example, against zoners, I would definitely say those are special matchups. If we, for example, put on Meterat. I don't dislike playing the Meterat matchup, but for example, it is definitely a matchup you would not play footsies against. Because Meterat is going to be moving away, shooting arrows, and generally being annoying. And also she's going to be pressing this, which you can't play footsies against anyways. So what you do against Meterat usually is you try to cheat your way in somehow or move in somehow. Which means one of the best things you can do against Meterat is always jumping. Jumping moves you forward while you're more or less safe from getting hit. But you need to first have enough space to jump in and kind of threaten her when coming down. It more or less comes down to a zoner can do 3 different things plus minus. They're also going to be watching you, what are you doing, and looking at, okay, what am I going to be doing depending on what kind of things my opponent does during neutral. For example, a Meterat may think you, as a Narmaya player, will know approach on the ground. If Meterat thinks that, it means Meterat is going to shoot so many arrows you don't even know. She's going to shoot all the arrows to keep you from moving forward fast on the ground, from running in. If she does that, then generally I think the right answer is to spot dodge a few arrows and get enough of a spacing window to either move in or jump forward. Or roll through some of them. You want to be a bit patient. Look at, okay, when can I react to an arrow? By spot dodging, by moving in, and then doing so. Or if you're close enough, if you are close enough, you can definitely just jump in and take your chance. But jumping in generally is a pretty safe and good method of moving forward because even Meterat's anti-airs for the most part are air blockable. So you can move forward somewhat safely. I don't know if you should just jump out of this, but essentially spot dodging this, especially spot dodging her far heavy is important, then she's not going to be able to cancel out of this. You have a bit of time to run forward or to jump forward. But essentially, if she is covering the ground, you shouldn't run in, you should play more slowly and try to approach through, for example, the air. If Meterat is worried about you jumping in, it's going to look more like this, what she's doing. She's going to slowly move back. It's going to look a bit like she's trying to whiff punish you, coupled with a lot of far Ls, because she's looking for, is he going to jump, and trying to react with either this, or maybe this. If Meterat is already shooting arrows, she can't anti-air you, so she's going to do nothing, for the most part, or only use fast recovering options. Walk forward is good, but not that good for Narmaya. Narmaya isn't a forced walker. You can do it, but you can't get in just by walking. But it is definitely something you are going to be doing yourself when Meterat is doing a lot on the ground and you basically are looking for spot dodges or rolls. Then you definitely want to walk. You can't run, but you can walk. But as Narmaya, my thought process is usually I want to get in through jumping or something else instead. And maybe reacting to what Meterat does. Walking is worse than other characters because she has a slower walk. But still an important option. Yeah, the point is, I as a Narmaya player here am going to be looking for, are you as a Meterat player playing such that you could anti-air me? If you're doing that, I'm going to try to run in more or approach more on the ground. I'm trying to read what the Meterat player is focusing on, whether they're focusing on blocking me on the ground, whether they're focusing on anti-airing me if I jump in, or whether they are focusing on saying, he's not going to be ready, I'm going to hop in. Or he's not going to be ready, I'm going to 2U. In that case, you also want to stay patient and react to Meterat going in for the hop, but in the end it is a lot of reading what are they going to do. I main Narmaya. I sometimes play Catalina. I could answer Catalina questions as they are basic. But yeah, as Narmaya, I think in particular you're not going to be winning this matchup if you play too fair. Sometimes you mainly want to go in. You're the character with stupid pressure, you're the character with really good buttons. You need to go in. You have a bit of a worse time doing this honestly than characters like Jita would. But you can definitely still get in and make Meterat hurt if you are in. But due to the way this is harder, and due to the way some of your options interact with Meterat's options, it's harder. For example, the point about Meterat for L more or less beating all buttons you have, or the point about hopping being difficult to anti-air for Narmaya at best. Like if you press a far medium or a far heavy or anything like that, nothing of that is going to crush a hop. Most other characters would have something that crushes hop there. But you can also definitely approach these matchups not unlike a Shoto would, but more aggressively. I think a Shoto can more look for creating a situation where they can get their stable tool out, like in the EX Fireball, that they can move in behind, or in case of Gran, he's going to create an opportunity to use EX Boot. As Narmaya, you could try to create an opportunity to command dash in. This is going to be even better against Meterat now. It's gotten even faster and even safer, so you can kind of get in, and if you get a knockdown, well, you got that knockdown. But you need enough space on the ground first. You need Meterat to not shoot arrows and not try to hop over it. In terms of Meterat far L, I usually still use far heavy against it because you can, but honestly, if you're trying to whiff punish Meterat, you're playing the wrong game. You're playing against the wrong character. She can 2U it from the right spacing. But in Genji, so many of her buttons have hurt boxes that move forward before the hitbox appears that it is harder to do. Like with the Kagura sweep, it's going to be probably a lot easier to do. This sweep would act more like Jita's sweep does. But it is not. It's not super easy. You can hard read it, and the point is usually it's fine to just press buttons into it. Your reward, if you do somehow get the hit, is better. All you need is that one hit. If Meterat hits you with a Farlight, then well, whatever. And yeah, it is a hard read. You can also make her shut up with the EX Mistfinder. And I think this is actually really good. Kinda, depending on the spacing. Also works. Or you flip in. This is also something that's generally useful against zoner matchups. This is like a faster jump in. If you're playing a character that doesn't have an EXTP anti-air or fast EXTP, and they're pressing something on the ground, reacting to this can be harder or even impossible. This is a move that is hard to 2H. You have to be looking out for it. And it is plus on block, you're in if it is even blocked. You're getting a hard knockdown if it hits. It is a good approach option in matchups where you have trouble getting in my opinion. Yeah, but that's approximately how this matchup works. And Narmaya mirror, by the way, is a bit of a shit show. It's not going to be as footsie heavy as other mirrors. Because Narmaya is generally a character that struggles to move forward safely, but both characters have high range, so you're kinda... So it is a bit of a game of chicken, where you're throwing out misfinders, throwing out command dashes, throwing out safe options more or less, and waiting for the other Narmaya to miss their stuff. It is a more chaotic mirror than the character usually is. Like, this mirror brings out Narmaya's chaotic side. Also, it is an unstable mirror because the first person that gets a hit and gets the other person to the corner is probably going to be getting the win. Impossible, I don't know how to beat Fittison with Narmaya, but I can tell you a bit about the Percival matchup as Fittison talks about it. So, the annoying thing about Percival is if he hits you once or twice and gets stocks, this is his win condition. If he is standing around here with 2 or 3 stocks, he's fine. The Percival matchup is losing for Narmaya now, yes, but you can win it. Especially the round start situation isn't bad for Narmaya altogether, because at this point Percival still doesn't have stocks. If you get hit, if you're in, then this is about the worst situation for Percy that he can imagine. He's close to the corner, he doesn't have stocks, he needs to first build stocks whenever he gets a hit, doesn't have the corner then, and he is going to have a difficult time playing momentum while you are very close to winning the round. That probably are characters that beat Percival. But the thing is that Fiddison picks 6 against them. Bubs, I don't know, that might be even 2. But yeah, Failure I think already gave a good summary on how Fiddison talks about the matchup. The matchup is about staying just about in the range where you can perhaps whiff punish this. Playing walk footsies against Percival isn't as hard as against other characters because Percival is also a slow boy. So you can afford to walk around a lot, you can afford to micro dash, and you can afford to and you can to some extent press buttons. I'd be scared to press any button other than this one as a counterpoke. This is the best counterpoke you definitely have in the matchup because even Fiddison is going to have to pay attention to this and probably is not going to be reaction whiff punishing you for pressing to M. So you can press this, you can counterpoke. Counterpokes in general are good against Percival. You can see that this kind of interacts pretty well with what Percival does with this button. It's not going to get often just hit by farm medium, and sometimes I just hit him as well. Sometimes I just get the hit there as well as a whiff punch or as a counterpoke and get in. Generally, that's another point here, but really, her Genji to M is her best defensive button. You're going to press that as a count. It is a really good button, you should learn to love it. This is annoying me, so let's go back to Genji. And if you get this sort of hit, you should be fine. You can also, I think, even whiff punish this, but this needs focus. Let's just put it like that. You can footsie this, whiff punish him with your own farm medium and kinda go in. Or if Percival does little, it's once again this. If Percival goes for far heavy, it's important to know that Percival is far heavy and self can be counterpoked. This thing has the biggest possible hitbox before it actually comes out. Like, it is going to be vulnerable to counterpokes. You can stand over here, I think, and still hit Percival before it comes out. You don't actually want to stay over here. But if you for any reason hit him on startup, well, you're getting the whiff punish. The big other troublesome thing in this matchup is Gunflame, because you just don't have a good answer in Genji. Like this, he's probably getting stocks or getting pressure or whatever. I don't know. What works well for me sometimes is walking out of range and then contesting him after this. Need some time to understand. But like against most other options, I think against jump in here he can anti-air in time. EX Mistfinder now is just sad. This used to answer the matchup for you. This used to be why this matchup wasn't bad. No, look at this. Depending on the spacing, you can get out a button in time, I think, like this, pressing to U. But it's kind of sad. If you're in Kagura though, in Kagura you have pretty simple answers to it still. You can easily trade him at all ranges or easily flip over him and get the knockdown. Problem is usually not going to be in Kagura. But yeah, that's my Fiddison Percival and generally Percival TED talk. You have to play footsies, you have to not be afraid to stay in the range of far heavy. He has to be afraid himself to press far heavy sometimes. It is a button that is risky for Percival. and gunflame are shit. Try to somehow find some sort of option to make gunflame less appealing, because I don't know. I think I posted some Twitter tag for this though. Like you can do this and it beats gunflame, or this on reaction. If the command dash is not a reaction, but you react to whatever Percival does after for heavy. But still, this is, I don't know. If I ever actually have to play more against Citizen, I would try to add this to my game plan sometimes. Because it at least looks cool. Anyway, so let's talk about Narmaya's gimmicks. This is a big one. You're going to see this by any Narmaya that isn't me because I keep forgetting to use it. But this. If it hits, it's really good. If this hits and your back is to the corner, then you basically just won the game of this. It's absolutely something that you don't have to happen. And by the way, Narmaya can't punish this on block. It's another reason why the Narmaya mirror is a bit of a clown matchup. If it doesn't get hit, you get comboed if the opponent's character can punish it. By the way, GENJI Narmaya can't punish it. It is really good if your opponent isn't stuffing it. If your opponent isn't stopping you from doing it, then by all means keep doing this thing. Keep doing something like this. Oh, you let me some time. Well, too bad. I'm out. It is incredible, but it's also a gimmick because in this game you have block buttons. And most characters can punch on block, especially if we have Percival here, who is one of the strongest characters in this game at actually block punishing it. Because Percival in general has super blessed punishes. Let's look at how Percival punishes it if he reads it's coming. No, Narmaya and GENJI, in this form where her sword is in, cannot punish it. Period. Believe me, I would have tested, I would have known, but she doesn't have a 6-frame button that reaches. She doesn't have a 7-frame button at all now. Her punish game in GENJI starts at 8 frames more or less. That's one of the big weaknesses in GENJI starts. You keep not getting punishes on things that most other characters do get punishes on. In Kagura you get punishes. Your 5L does, I think, actually reach, but you also have like 2U or 4M or any other of your 7-frame buttons that still punishes. So, let's say Narmaya does this to me and I'm Percival, and for no particular reason at all, I already have a Träumerei stack. Oh no, I'm Narmaya, I want to cross you up for damage. If I try to react, this is a bad idea. To do in time, I want to use the guard button. This option is something that you should remember to press on wakeup in general, but also against Narmayas that have generally against Narmayas you don't know or that have shown you that they want to use command dash stuff, or whenever you see the command dash stuff of Narmaya, so that you don't get gimmicked by the crossup. You will automatically switch sides and block the option. And if you block it, Percival gets damage. 2700 damage anywhere on screen, out knockdown. Actually 3000, I lied. Or maybe even this one, which would be also 3000. So, it is a very good option. If your command dash shenanigans are really a good option to use, especially if you know your opponent isn't good, or you're generally at low level and need something to carry you a bit. If you essentially need to say, okay, I'm getting this hit, I'm now going to start my pressure, well, you're going for command dash shenanigans. The thing is, at a certain level, at least if you're an actually good player, you're going to start to use guard button against Narmaya there, because command dash shenanigans are threatening. And that's the next level. You also would be looking out for 2H and trying to DP it or do something else against it. Like, sure, this is an option. But someone that has truly left the situation might, for example, say, okay, I'm just doing a fuzzy mash. I hold guard button for a certain time and then I 2H. And this is also not nice. But what Never is saying is definitely right, and Narmaya has a lot of options in this situation. Sometimes she can gimmick her way out. Generally, though, this is a gamble to take. But a gamble that has potentially really high reward, so you want to sometimes take it, and you want to definitely use it a lot against people that have shown that they can't deal with it. But this is something you should be trying to... You should definitely learn how to play without it, at the very least. Because some players are going to just completely shut it off. Similar to, like, one thing that Narmaya can do to make her hit confirms easier is to say, I always... Like it is difficult to single hit confirm this into some sort of follow-up. It is actually hard. Sometimes your command dash, or often your command dash, is going to come out anyway. Like if you cancel the command dash anyway and you see, oh no, he blocked. You still are in this situation. You have put yourself unwillingly in a command dash situation, in a command dash gimmick situation, and you have to think about, well, what am I going to do? Narmaya can still try to frame trap here with the flip. The problem is, if the opponent is ready for flip, they get a full anti-air. Narmaya can try to go for the crossup shenanigan. Problem is, if the opponent is ready, they're going to block. Empty command dash is also okay, but this has a lot of recovery. So you can definitely flip out of this. It is good, it forces the opponent to pay attention to the flip, and it is something that makes it safe against people that aren't going to look out for it. It is definitely a good way to at least start with it. Like I think at low level this is a good starter way for Narmaya to say, okay, I'm going to not try to confirm the command dash itself and only cancel on command dash and hit. I'm going to try to cancel into command dash more often, and if I mess up, I'm going to flip. That's fine if you're starting out, in my opinion. Also, if you can't punish it, I think you've got a harder time. I still have to look at what Narmaya does when she can't punish it. I think one of the decent options is to say as a defender, oh, I'm just not going to deal with this situation. I'm out. Goodbye. At least I keep the corner. If your opponent doesn't deal with it, it is an excellent tool. If your opponent deals with it, you're going to get yourself killed. Learn the difference. Or I think you can fuzzy DP. This might be also something like you block same side, you DP the other side. This might also be something you can do with a DP. Unfortunately, Meterat doesn't have one either. But this is a Narmaya possibility. Okay. That should at least somewhat cover the command dash mix-up. Other things that are more or less gimmicks or ways for Narmaya to win neutral without playing footsies. EX Mistfinder. I've already talked about how good EX Mistfinder is. You should abuse this. Not playing neutral isn't a shame if you win. If you can get in by using this, or by using this, or using this, then please do. It's less effort than playing footsies. If you want to train your footsies, of course you should do this. Or if you want to have a good time in terms of training your footsies. Or running in. Once again, running in is really important as Narmaya. Running in neutral in general is just good. If your opponent is trying to wait and see and react to your buttons, what are they going to do if you just suddenly see this girl zooming at you and forcing a throw before you can really react? Or essentially just zooming at you and pressing a button when you can first react. Oh no, I could counter it. That's really good to weave in if your opponent is playing passively and not pressing many buttons. If they are of course walling with buttons, then your runner is going to get hit. If not, you can run in, and Narmaya is very good at running in. And you can get, and at that point you can definitely get the counter hit confirms, and this is one of the... I'm going to shortly talk about the theory of hit confirming as well as Narmaya. I think this is really important. This is a character that gets so much of a proper hit confirm, so in my opinion it's really important for her to get hit confirms, to know how to hit confirm to some extent. Because you don't really want to put yourself in the command dash situation if you don't... if you can afford not to put yourself in the command dash situation, then you should be happy not being in it. So for simplicity's sake, I'm going to put the dummy on getting hit randomly and force counter hit, because if your opponent gets counter hit, that's both the kind of hits that according to my philosophy, I want to get counter hits. I want to place my buttons so that they counter hit what your opponent does, because you get huge damage of this, and because it's the easiest hit confirm you can get. It's definitely a kind of hit confirm that you don't want to miss. So the point here is, as Narmaya, sometimes you might be running in like this. Oh, I got hit. I'm going to confirm. Oh, I got a hit. Maybe? Yeah. I'm going to confirm. Depending on how good your hit confirms are and how good your counter hit confirms are, you get more. Please get it. Ah! Not good enough. I got bamboozled. But you can also get... I think we still call it the Trikiza confirm. Confirming counter hits into command dash SBA. It's one of the most fun parts of this character. But no, getting these kind of command dash SBA confirms is really cool. But hit confirming pretty much works like you watch the opponent foretells what they're doing, how it works. One hit confirms are a pain in the butt, but I'm telling you to confirm of the easiest one hit confirm that Narmaya has, which are counter hit for heavies. It's definitely a confirm you want to get and one that gives a huge damage. So you are looking at what the opponent does, and any of the markers that tell you this opponent got in hit stun. If you are looking for a counter hit, you are looking for a red flash on the opponent because they flash red when getting counter hit. And I also try to always look for the hit spark, the small slash that comes down diagonally for this button, that comes down from the top right and goes towards the bottom left, the slash that only appears when they get hit. You can also look at the life bar. If new red appears on the life bar, they got hit, but this is difficult to do in neutral game because you're looking away from the screen. And yes, one hit confirms are a lot of a matter of practice, of going for a lot of training mode practice and a lot of trying to confirm in games. This isn't just something that you are born with or not. You can grind them like anything else and you can make a lot of progress. And I'd say any one of you that watch can also counter hit confirm this, or single hit confirm this when counter hits are forced. One of the tricks to this is once again looking for some sort of marker that appears as fast as possible. I try to look for the hit spark, the orange line that comes down from the bottom right. I also try to look for the red flash, which usually happens pretty fast for counter hits and which is something that distinguishes counter hits from normal hits. And whoa, we've got a bona fide boomer over here. But I think you can still do this. One of the other big things that helps is already buffering the special motion before you try to go for the special. So it's not like I see the hit, I see it hit, I go for the command dash motion. No, I input the command dash motion automatically as part of the far heavy anyway, so that I only need to press heavy to finish the hit confirm. Furthermore, as Narmaya, I use the easy input for the following slashes if I go for slashes. This makes it easier for me to get earliest possible slashes and get a good hit confirm. But this is a Narmaya specific thing. Yeah, you don't need one hit confirms to win, especially with some characters you don't need them. There's a lot of buttons you can place so that you can more or less always buffer instead. Like once again, pre-place buttons like this or counterpokes. You can always buffer the command dash and then confirm that it hit and cancel the command dash. But most other characters don't even need to do that. They just buffer and enjoy the hit confirm if it hits. Just Narmaya has to essentially, she has a command dash, but she has to manually then cancel it on reaction into the the M slashes. But yeah, buffer the special motion first, so that you only need to press the last button if it hits. This shortens reaction time. Look for special tells, and practice this a lot with random block dummies. Also note that single hit confirms just of the opponent doing nothing are still the hardest thing. And note that you're going to get a lot of the other hit confirms too, like off buffers. Or situational hit confirms where you can already see your opponent has pressed a button and my button is going to counter hit them. This takes a lot of experience, but if you can't see that in advance, you can see this button earlier than the hit confirm situation would actually happen. So you can special cancel faster, hit confirm faster, and get the hit. And yeah, easy inputs are good. That makes it easier. It also makes it more intuitive here. That would more or less be like this, just using easy input if it hits. I'm super not used to this, so I'm going to probably look worse than usual. What was this? Yeah, for Catalina in particular, though, you're not usually going to be single hit confirming off a raw to M randomly. Like, doing that is super hard. For Catalina, you're just going to be pressing to M into empty space and buffering it into lunge over and over and over again here. Like, this is Catalina, peak Catalina gameplay. You're going to press a buffer. If your opponent pressed a button into it or ran into it, you get a free lunge. That's like 90% to 99% of the single hit confirms you get. Real single hit confirms in this game, you're usually going to try off heavies. If you hit confirm off a medium, it's usually situational confirm because you saw your opponent running or pressing a button or doing something else that you can hit confirm in advance of the hit actually hitting. And how important single hit confirms are also depends on the character. For Narmaya, I'd say they are relatively important, but you can still get by just always cancelling into command dash and then confirming that it didn't hit anyway. I'm going to flip. For other characters, they are less important, and you can definitely find characters in this game that don't rely on them much. For example, UL can kinda say, okay, I'm just mixing anyway. Single hit confirm. She is going to be hit confirming her far medium, but those are 2 hits, and that's an easier hit confirm. But UL can also always get by kinda just cancelling all the time. Yeah, buffering definitely is something you want to practice. You want to always buffer every single poke you press that is not going to hit. You only need to bother with hit confirming if the poke in the first place could actually hit them. Blocking. But if you buffer like this, you are trying to hit a run or an extended hitbox. And that's always going to be a hit confirm, that's always going to hit. You can always cancel into the special. God Flash, sir. Do I need to sign up right now? I'm just going to check in before I forget. Yeah. And these kinds of single actual hit confirms are also something that you mostly are going to be seeing in high level as a differentiator. With buffers and situational hit confirms maybe and stuff like that, you can get by a lot. So, just gonna check in for a second. I am able to participate. I want to check in. Jesus Christ, how large is this tournament gone? Ah, yeah. Yeah, it depends on the poke. Catalina 2 is going to be looking sometimes... these kind of pokes, you always buffer. You are poking to hit an extended hitbox, you're poking to hit an extended hurtbox, you're poking to hit a run. Something that comes in fast, from a distance, that hits into your whiff. You're not trying to hit the opponent's body. If you hit the opponent's body, then you need to hit confirm. But like I can always confirm here. I can always special cancel this to M because it hits the run and you can't block out of the run. Or anything else that it would hit and where it would win is also some sort of button where the opponent can also not block. That's the whole point. If you're out of the opponent's range, if your poke is not going to hit your opponent, you can always buffer. Don't worry. Do I also sound like I'm currently the same? Or like this? I haven't touched upon this, but these kind of single hit confirms or buffers into SSBA are also good, do a lot of damage, and it is one of the easiest hit confirms Narmaya has. Because SSBA is faster than a command dashes and simpler to input. Speaking of supers, always use your super in every round, or at least try to. For Narmaya, of course, her SBA is short range. You're not always going to be in the range, you can only really use it in combos, right? You can't use it of pokes or something like that, unless you go for fancy counter hit confirms. Absolutely. The only pure confirms, I want to always express here, the only pure confirms are the ones where your opponent could block. Where your poke could be hitting the opponent and they could be blocking. So you need to confirm this, I'm confirming this, and I'm only cancelling one hit. But if I'm hitting empty space, then I don't care. I don't need to confirm this. I don't need to waste brain power on determining is it going to hit or not. Either it whiffs or it hits. That's the only two options. Like every SBA, you can spot dodge Narmaya's SBA on block, but it is a lot of recovery anyway. You can just block it and punish after it. I think SBA is harder. If you try to spot dodge this, you get hit by the animation anyway. Depending on the range, well, you're actually kind of screwed. You can't jump out. If you're not close enough to her, rolling usually works though. It seems. That's generally a good answer. I think if you're too far though, you're not going to be able to roll through it and get punished still. But from closer up, rolling is a good option. I try to DP. I guess DPing also works sometimes, but if you are not close enough to Narmaya, same old happens. Or not. Sometimes she gets hit. But yeah, the answer to Narmaya's SSBA is usually rolling. This is one of the wonderful things about Grandu, as usual. That easy input supers get crushed by technical input supers. So in this case, her invulnerability runs out before mine does, so I can just counter super. But if we were to do supers about at the same time, I think I got it. I don't know. It seems that Narmaya has too much invulnerability for this. But generally, what Never says is true. Easy input supers have less priority than real input supers, so they're going to get crushed by the technical real input supers. And SSBA similarly has a higher clash level than SBA. So that's one of the real Dragon Ball ass mechanics about this game. I'm doing the like I'm doing the easy input on reaction there, and I think that wasn't really easy input here. I've got a stick. You can be kind of fast with this sometimes if you're good. I think I'm not even doing this particularly fast. Double quarter circles aren't an input I'm actually good at, but you can also do it on pad. It's all about, I think, doing less movement than you actually think you should be doing. Anyway, I think I'm going to cut it here right now in terms of things that I want to say. One thing that I also want all Narmaya players that watch to know is if you switch stance, it has a certain amount of recovery, but you can block pretty fast during this animation or cancel it into anything like jump, right? It's about 9 frames plus minus, give or take. I don't know the exact frame number, but I think it has 9 vulnerable frames before you can do any action, except for walking. Otherwise you're stuck in this animation here. But one thing that you can do with this is you can cancel it into guard button. So you sheath or unsheath your sword, you cancel it into guard button, and then you can instantly walk out. You can, but this is the safest way of switching stances in neutral. This has the smallest opening of everything you can do to switch stances in neutral. You don't need to do this to switch stances in neutral. It actually has more recovery than just going for a regular stance switch and then cancelling this with a tap of the guard button. Also, you can't do this without guard button. Like, look at this. It's way too slow. You can't go for optimum BM. But other than that, basically in every sort of action that Narmaya has, she can switch stances in the recovery. I've already shown she can switch stance in recovery for throw. She can switch it in the recovery of the special. She can whiff it to L and switch stances like this. I see a lot of Narmayas doing this habitually. But it's I think more recovery. You can also spot a stance switch. That is frame 1 invulnerable and you get another stance. Might sometimes be something you want to do. Also, another stance switch that you are going to see a lot and that you might want to practice is this one. Switching stance off to M into another button. That is a core component of a lot of her pressure strings if you're further out. Or something she does to confirm off. Or essentially something she does to confirm off a counter to M at range. Do I want to? No defense after that. This. This definitely is also. If you're looking to learn stance switching of any normal in any situation, you want to learn this. It's her one most important mid pressure stance switch. In terms of mid combo stance switches, you have enough of them anyway. And what I can say about that is just basically learn the corner combo. That's going to cover more or less all the mid combo stance switching you need to do. And the corner combo, of course, being like this one. This one is pretty good. It is your biggest meterless damage. You can do this. This is a bit more stable in my opinion, but it does less damage and has worse cooldown management. And you can go for, I think, Let me try to confirm this. It's going to take a bit of time. Yeah, it's going to take a bit of time, and this surprise is spoiled, but fine. Vorführ effect is what we call this in German. The effect of trying to show a combo and then failing to execute it. This just shows that they shouldn't be doing this in matches. And then you cancel this into SSB and keep the corner. And it also happens to be her optimal single hit confirm damage of if you are using super. My execution is short. I'm sorry. Okay, it is not optimal. God damn it. I usually don't drop this hard. I usually don't drop it this hard. 2H? You're going to have to show me this one day. I know this one does more damage than a normally BNB at least. But like, I'm having incredible problems just hitting this. It's absurd. I'm just going to try to stop hit confirming and just getting in bloody... Just let me hit this. It would look like this, except that you're going for technical input. Well, actually you're going for easy input. I think that's the fun part here. You want to go for easy input so that you get a good safe jump here. This is now a safe jump after the patch. If you were to go for technical input, that would be a crossup safe jump. Funnily enough. But yeah, pre-patch, this would also be the combo that gets you an SSB ender while retaining the corner. Because you side switch during it. Looks fancy, certainly. But if you do technical input now, like this, you're going to be very close to them. So a forward jump would actually land you in the corner. Observe. Yeah, another thing, yeah, that's after the patch now. Another thing that is really good as a combo is if you still have EX command dash here, you can, and you're at range, you can use 5H, EX command dash, SBA as a really good conversion from further ranges where you don't quite get the full corner combo. Like about here, you get this, get a full corner combo. Get basically huge damage for not being quite in the corner. Also another fun thing if we are already in this segment of impractical Narmaya stuff in the corner. As soon as I get this. This is a setup that would be a menace without guard button. And is a menace to my execution anyway. But if I do it right, I should get a left-right. Except that left-rights don't exist in this game. Like this, yeah. You come out on the other side, but you can micro-walk under them and get the corner again. So if you get hit by the setup, please use guard button to completely defuse it. And I think while we're at the subject of esoteric combos, this should work, if I recall correctly. If I recall correctly. Is it a micro delay? I know there was some sort of combo where you got jump U, M Sangats, and then still got a pickup in these. but I don't remember where it was. So I'm just going to not try to invent new combos on stream and cut it off right about now, unless there are any questions left. I've got 10 minutes until we start the tournament that I want to join. And I'd still like to gather my wits enough to not completely die on round 1 after talking for 2 hours straight. Okay, then I think that kind of covers it. Thank you for watching. I would like feedback for this. I'd like to use this as a base for a more exhaustive Narmaya guide that has less R and searching for words and dropping combos. That you can cross-reference whenever you need to. But for now, that would be everything. Thank you very much for watching, asking questions and joining me here. I definitely wouldn't have done this without anyone watching, you know. Something in voice chat with other Narmayas, definitely. I just wanted for now to write a document together with Godflash. And use this as some sort of baseline for just talking to new Narmaya players, just finding out what do they actually want to know as well. And not just what do I want to teach. I mean, what I want to teach I've shown. I want just to teach, so how do you actually play this game and what does Narmaya especially do with this. But I'd really appreciate if after watching this and after seeing the streams there would still be any open questions that we could answer later in a more exhaustive guide. Yeah, definitely. I've got my point of view. Godflash has his own point of view. He's going to have matchup knowledge in areas where I'm lacking. He's probably going to have different levels of experience in different points, but yeah, I just wanted to do this. It's cool that this happened very spontaneously, that I still got a lot of feedback. And the tournament should be streamed by Ordanen. And I'm going to keep this, I might be keeping the stream open until he starts, so that I can host him. For now, the guide is basically over. I'm going to be relaxing the last 10 minutes, going to be setting up everything else and having a good evening. Before warming up, sure, we can warm up if basically we are both getting a bye in round 1. But before warming up, I'd rather just relax for a second. Get my thoughts in order. It's already live over there. I'm going to be hosting him, of course. As soon as he goes live for me. Because he isn't live for me. Ordanen! Bruno. Bruh, Ordanen just isn't going online for me. I'm refreshing the stream page and nothing is happening. Thank you very much, Funky. I got bamboozled. I got schmixed. They definitely want to keep the stream alive until I can host him. Until he was live. But in terms of hit confirms, the hit confirms I use the most actually are the ones in pressure. They definitely put your pressure on another level. So, for example, I think, I'm pretty sure I've got this hit confirm on more or less 100%, seeing whether someone is getting hit by this string as a counter hit. And then hit confirm it into a string. That's a two hit confirm. You basically look at what the first hit does. If you know the second hit is also going to confirm, boom. Cancel. Anyway, Ordan is live. I'm going to host him now, and then I'm going to put this on YouTube, and then I'm going to take a small break and maybe warm up with Godflash. Thank you all for coming. Later.